So excited to have Robert Reed. And let me just start by saying, I introduced lots of people. Some I've known for years, some I recently met. Robert is a dear friend um, who I'm so excited to get a chance to speak with today because he is the business. Robert, just tell us, tell us something about yourself that we're not going to hear in your intro or in your bio. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Well, so I was really trying to how to compartmentalize because there's something I want to share, um, like in terms of, but it's like a 7 minute soliloquy. So I'll just tell a little bit about myself right now.
Okay.
So excited to be here, Tish. We were talking before. This is kind of like our one-on-one. We've been talking about having for a very long time, and we used to do that all the time. We had
All
our
the time. We got to start it again,
accountability.
by the way.
Yes,
We're
we
telling the
really do.
world, in front of
Yeah.
the world, we're going to start it again.
So we'll be held accountable some way about doing this.
Right?
But yeah, right now I am. Well, what was the question again?
That's what I'm talking about.
What was the question?
Something about you that they're not going to read in your bio.
Oh, okay. What is it about me that they're not going to read in the bio? Oh man, I probably something I'll share a little later, but my journey I'm on right now.
Yeah.
I'm great that you had mentioned about the bio because the bio is essentially, in my world, the bio is essentially past. Like this is what
Wow.
I've done. This is,
Yeah.
and so
Good.
I
That's really
understand.
good.
I understand it, because there has to be a sense of relatedness, but the bio does not come even close to articulating where I'm at in my life right now.
Ooh.
But it does let me look, when I put that out there, it's kind of like writing down and really acknowledging what I've done, and like, oh, okay, I've done that stuff. So that is my bio. But
I love that. I love that. That's really good, Robert. Really good.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I'm just, now it's just, I would say right now is just, there's just a level of clarity and consciousness that is in my life right now. So it's one of the most scariest things. It's one of the most vulnerable things in life,
Yeah.
but right now it's kind of like when you have that good feeling, I always associated my good feeling like if something wasn't overall good for me, and I just be like, oh, I can get addicted to something that's bad. Well, you know what? It's kind of like switched now where I'm addicted to this feeling of good, and I know what it is. What I need to do in my life to maintain that. It doesn't make it any easier, but I'm totally conscious of what needs to be done, in terms of
Yeah.
how I have to live my life.
So let me catch our audience up just a little bit. Um,
I could
so
just go, I'm
well,
out.
I mean, number one, let's go ahead and schedule part two right now because I already know this is not going to be a one and done for sure. But so Robert, I don't even remember who it was. Maybe you can remember, but someone at
Susan
some
Ratliff.
point was it? Who was it?
Susan Ratliff.
Okay, Susan Ratliff, who I met, many years ago,
Right.
said to me, "You have to meet Robert Reed," and I'm just like, okay, who's Robert Reed? And so we did a little bit of I think we did a little bit of social media or email exchange. I forget which it was, but it was something written, not verbal. And it was like, hey, yeah, one day we'll catch up, blah, blah, blah. And then we get to this, it was Icon. It was that big conference downtown Phoenix Convention Center with thousands of people, right? And I get into this breakout session and I turn around and I'm going, you're Robert Reed. She's like, you're Tish Times. And sure, it was like from that moment on, he has been my brother, and like sincerely. There are definitely some things I can share that would cause me to get emotional. I'm gonna try to avoid some of those right this moment. But I'll just say that Robert has been just literally been an MC on my stage for my 2 to 3 day conference twice. He and I have spent, God, at least once a week for a long time, meeting and just masterminding and supporting each other. Robert has shown himself, I'll just say it this way, Robert has shown himself to be a friend in way more ways than one when I needed it the most. And again, that's when I'm like, come on back, Tish, keep it together, keep it together. And I have watched him soar. I mean, literally, he is a phenomenal, and you'll hear about his professional, success. And I've watched him as a social media master take these brands and really blow them up and help them to create just tremendous visibility. And so you'll hear all of that as we talk. But the one thing I want Robert to share with us right now, because I do have a question that I normally ask, and I'm excited to ask of you because of what you've already said and what I've already seen just in your life, just watching you online, is the question is, who did you have to become in order to attain the level of success that you're currently enjoying? Why don't you share that with us?
Who did I have to become? I had to become someone who was willing to deal with the emotional issues that kept me in survival mode.
Ooh, you can't stop there. I'm like, come on, man. That's good. Go ahead.
So that's really what, like about a year ago, about a year ago, right around this time, I created goals with my team, and it was like the second year in a row where in October I was creating goals. And I was focused and I shared it with my team. I was inspired. And one of the things, because I have an experience of when I create goals that, I know I'm not going to get them done, but it just feels good to do it,
Okay.
One of the things I shared with my team is like what popped in my head was that the person who I have to be I am not the person who is going to achieve these goals. And it was very clear to me, the person I have to become is the person to achieve those goals. It's not who I am now.
Wow.
And it was one of those things that I was inspired by it, Tish, in like October, November, December. So I had my plan. January comes, and Tish, literally, it was an experience of, I kept hitting the ceiling. I was literally so aware that I was not that person, and I knew those goals wouldn't be there. And it really just rocked me because I really had no other idea of what to do. I literally was at a place to where I had no idea how to do something differently. And right around that time, I accidentally turned off my notifications on my phone, like around January 18th, maybe January 20th. My phone, I don't know how it happened, but I did. And me, I'm all over the place, I didn't even notice. So like 7 hours later, I'm like, oh shoot, I checked my emails. I had all these emails. And it was like the first introduction. I really think it was universe, it was God. Like the first introduction where I actually had a reprieve of the cycle that I was creating, of the cycle that I was just in, how I did business, how I did everything that had me keep hitting the ceiling that I knew was not right here. I knew I was not reaching my potential because I couldn't get out of the loop that I was doing. So right around that time, no notifications. I told my friend Tanya, who handles all my back office of all of my stuff, my best friend, I've known her since I've been 14 years old. And I said, Tanya, I got to get out of here. I got to go to Tucson. I got to go do something. And just to leave, I didn't know what I needed to do, but I needed to go somewhere. And right around the beginning of end of February, I went down to Tucson for 3 days. And I was like, this is my time to really figure out what's going on with me, what's happening in my life. I was just so determined. And during even that time in the weekend, Tish, I was still displaying the same habits, women, cigarettes, drinking, just things that were totally a distraction from me getting to the core of what really has me in the same loop. And in the middle of wanting to do something about it, I was still in the middle of it. And it was a Paul on the road to Damascus kind of thing, like crying in my hotel room, like I didn't know what to do. And then something just told me like, just reach out for help. Because one of the things as an entrepreneur, and I think business owners always deal with the same thing, is like asking for help is essentially, it is like a weakness. It's like, I can't do it. I got to ask for help. And that's one of the things that I never did. And so I asked for help. I connected with somebody who gave me really some great information, a counselor, not really even a counselor, more like a business coach, because there's no difference between business and spirituality in your life, right? It's all connected. So whether you're a business coach or you're a spiritual coach or whatever, it's affecting everything, right? So one of the things that really broke through for me, Tish, is that I found out, I was listening to this guy, Joe Dispenza, and one of the things that he said that broke my life down was that you can't create a vision out of survival mode. And I never understood that I was in survival mode, because survival looks to me like oh, I got to turn around and look around what corner. No, survival mode for me was just, this is my level of I'm going to reach, and I got to make sure I do that. Keep my whole area clean so I can make sure I just barely make things happen. Oh, I get better in business. Well, then I raise my level of I barely make that happen. So it's still the same ceiling. And so for me, what I did is I switched everything. And so it was perfect. COVID, when people tell me about COVID, I'm like, it was great.
Like, right. I
know. And it's like, and I had to learn to not like dim my light, because for me, that was the momentum I needed, because everything switched for me. Every morning, I just transformed what I did. Instead of waking up in the morning concerned about everything else, I woke up in the morning, I meditated, I walked in the morning, I read, and all of these things, I did that first for 128 days straight. Yeah. And what I got was really the second day is I created my vision. Okay. And that when I first started, it was social media, right? Yeah. And then the next thing when I was talking to you was about like, oh, I'm going to be a marketing director. I help companies with their marketing plan. Yep. And that was well and good and everything. I still do that. But guess what? It wasn't the apex of what every company really needs, is with a clarity on their vision. Yeah. And I couldn't help people with that unless I got my vision. So what really hit me was that all the African-American males who were growing up during all this stuff was happening, George Floyd, it was just an immersion in just all of that feeling of like, how many people are in survival mode and they don't have any idea. And it's like African-American males are out there in survival mode when that's genocide. Because if you're waking up in the morning and you don't have a vision to live into, then you're essentially dying anyway. It's the same thing.
Wait a minute. So wait, you get orange applause. Because you just said a mouthful. Robert, I mean, just stop for a second, because what you just said can literally cause someone to have a light bulb go off, have a shift in the way that they're doing things, because survival, you're right, it's like slowly dying. It's like just dying slower, but you're still in that process of headed towards death. So how did you come to that? This realization started with your notifications being turned off.
Yes, seriously. Crazy. And that's why I love looking at it like that, because that's what is perfect in life for it. It's the little shift. It doesn't have to be huge. It's the little things the little voice that it's not even a voice, where you feel right here that it's telling you so clearly, like it doesn't have to be a big grandiose, like lightning message from God, It's like my notifications got turned off and I was present. And then I was like, oh, that just opened up something else for me. So you can't teach what you haven't experienced. And this is what's so beautiful about my life right now, is like the people I discuss, everything comes from the vision, because I know what the clarity of a vision can create for your life. So I couldn't teach that unless I experienced that. And so so to answer your question, that's where I'm at right now.
Where you are. And what it's like, okay, we're done, goodbye. Because that alone is just so stinking powerful. So what's really interesting to me is this, and I've been dealing with a lot of what you're talking about, by the way, and I have to be really careful, because when people talk about COVID, the people die, so I don't want to be like, oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, totally,
but by the same token, it was one of those moments that caused me to have to stop, slow down, hear, and then make some changes. Yep. But the funny thing is this, all along, Robert, all along this journey and pre-journey, the name of your company is Ideate Vision.
I know, isn't it crazy?
So you've been called to have this clearer vision and to help people get to this clearer vision all this time, but it took this for you to be able to fully step into it, so that now you can help other people get there. That's amazing to me.
Thank you for my closing. Thank you for, I literally never even thought about that till right now, Tish.
Check this out. All this time, I'm like, he does social media. I wonder why his company is called Ideate Vision. For years. Yeah. I was like, I'm sure there's a reason I never like dwelled on it, but now it's like, that's why your company is called Ideate Vision. Because in my world, you know me, so you know where I'm going to go with this. Like God was like, you'll get there, but I want you to begin to declare this right now, so that when you are ready, you have the platform, you have the audience, and people will hear your voice, and you're right there right now, Robert. That's awesome.
I never even thought about that. That is so amazing. And so what's interesting that you say that is because everything that I thought was hard is not hard because I feel like it comes from one place. It comes from the, like, I thought marketing director was really where it was at, you know, like, oh, because that was my expression. But
Yeah.
I really feel like my expression is just really what it feels like to get clear on a vision. And when you connect it to that vision emotionally, spiritually, you can see it, you can feel it. And then when you get off the path, it's so much easier to get back on. And that
Yeah.
permeates every action that you take. Your vision does, who you hire, who you bring on, what kind of conversations you have, what your representation online is, what your representation in front of one-on-one, what people are. So that right there is just, it's like the core for me. And it's not out of the scope of what my strength is. So it's like, I feel like all of my strengths into that. So I don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff. And then that's when business has just exploded because I'm speaking authentically from an experience and it's not forced because I knew what it's like to have to create a vision.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, part two is going to be bananas because you're saying so much right now, like laying a foundation for people because, we're in networking school, right? We're talking
Right,
about how do people get connected. And this is what I hear you saying. And I want you to kind of tell me where we would go from here.
right.
Because when people are out networking, what I have envisioned, what you have seen as well, what I have experienced rather, what you have probably seen, is that people have this almost like phony I have to be this. This is what's going to get people's attention. This is what's going to cause people to buy from me kind of behavior when they're networking. But what I hear you saying, Robert, is that when we get really clear on our own vision, we get really clear and we're able to step into that authentic place. Then when we show up in a networking event, when we're speaking on stage at a conference, whatever that might look like, people are more attracted to us because it's what's real and they're not trying to dig through all of the layers of phoniness that we have laid upon ourselves in order to try to be, now we really can become. Somebody said this to me not long ago. They said, and it was a very dear friend of mine, someone I consider to be like a mentor, and it was in love. So it sounds kind of harsh, but it was all in love. And it was immediately like, I was like, that's God. She said, stop striving and just be. And I was like, oh, it's like we're trying to be something else. We're striving, 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 hustling, hustling, hustling. But it sounds to me like when you got alone and when you got clear, now you're not trying to figure out who you are, you're just being that person.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Totally.
people meet you, it's more authentic. What would you say about that when people are showing up in these various rooms, online, offline, stage, not stage, in person, whatever? How is it that they can just be?
Well, it's so funny is how like people watch the NBA player after he scores and they're like, dude, he's just been that good. They don't know that he's putting in work in the
Yes,
gym. You know
yes,
what I mean?
yes,
And this is let me tell you, I've told you the highlights. Okay. This
yeah,
last 7 months been is okay. This last 7 months has been rich my core of my relating to my kids and people and being vulnerable
yeah,
and being okay with being hurt, being okay with sharing like all of these things, you just don't get your vision without going through the process of all of the things that stop you from seeing the vision. Because most of our visions have to do with things that are innately so emotionally important to us that to actually share that and share that to others is the process. So it's really more the process is removing those things that have you not want to even, like literally I was laying in bed like, what do I want? But then I really got that it had nothing to do with what I wanted, had nothing to do with my business. It's
yeah,
what my business would create for my life. And to share that for people, what I am committed to in my life and the difference, that was the emotional part. And when you're able to get that part, like share that, that's the
mm,
part where it ain't even work because
right,
you're just having conversations. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But the
yeah,
process to get to your vision, that's the hard road. It's like the work's on the front end
yeah.
because you're going to have to realize, you're going to see stuff like, man, for me to really realize that I have to have conversations, deal with things that I've been pushing away anyway.
Say that again. So Robert, let me just tell you, I was having a conversation with one of a coach that I'm working with, and when I say it was painful,
Yeah.
telling you painful because
Yes.
the question that she asked me in regards to something I just didn't want to deal with, just be real,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just didn't want to deal with it. And she asked me this question. She said, well, what if you just or choosing not to know? Because I was like, I don't know. And she was like, what if you're choosing not to know? And it was like a 90-minute call, and we're like 45 minutes in, and I'm literally like, okay, well, I'm good, I'm done. And
Right.
she's like, no, making me like sit with it, making me like deal with it. And it was painful because this is the thing many of us have, myself included. It's like we have escape mechanisms. When
Yes.
something gets uncomfortable, when it gets too difficult to deal with,
I'm out.
I get busy. I get, you know what I mean? I'm out. And so let me just tell you what that looks like. And you tell me if it's the same for you. So now I can jump on the phone and make some phone calls. I can run out and do a networking event. I can do these things which in my world are business things. But what I'm doing is I'm shifting my attention from transformation because it's too difficult to deal with. Let me just go do something this easy, that's fun, right? And so how did you keep yourself in that place of becoming, of transforming so that you can be where you are right now?
Well, maybe an hour ago, this call would have been different. Okay, so like,
let's just be real.
like this is an awareness conversation.
Yeah.
What I am more than anything is I'm just consciously aware of what's going on. Like when I want to leave the room because I don't want to connect to the kids because something might feel where I just want to escape, because I have the tendency to escape too. It's like if things are emotionally tough, I can remove myself and do some stuff. Like my activities could be leaving the house, going somewhere, just being away from the kids instead of just being there and sitting in it. So what's happened is just the awareness of it. And the biggest thing that if there's one word that I could sum up that's made the biggest difference for me, and I never thought that I needed it, was actually compassion for myself.
See, Robert, you're gonna make me cry.
Because I just didn't have compassion for myself, you know? And it's like, and you can't have compassion for others unless you have compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and I was always taught like compassion for yourself means it's like, it's excusing behavior. No, but what it is, it's not, it's Tarly, my ex-wife, told me the best line. She's like, compassion is acceptance on crack. because when you accept something, it's almost like I accept that I'm resigned, at least from my experience. I'm accepting this about myself. I'm resigned.
Yeah.
And instead of the compassion for myself, because even Jesus had compassion. That's how people were healed, was through compassion.
Yes.
That's how people were healed. They healed because they had compassion. And so that's what it's been. So the awareness is hard because you're aware of all of these things that you've been trying to avoid and that you don't want people to know and that you think are wrong, that you think make you so much different and worse than everybody else. But then when you enter compassion in there, there's just a level of breath.
Dude. Because as you said that, I could hear, because I study scripture, and I could hear there's scripture in the Gospels that said, and he looked at them and he loved them, and then he healed them. So it's like that part of compassion and being able to love, and it's not always easy. You know, we'll say it's easy for us to love everybody else. No, it's not. Sometimes it's hard to love everybody else because it's hard to love us. Because the word tells us to love your neighbor as yourself, which means this has to happen first.
Yeah, exactly.
We're trying to work it backwards, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, because a lot of people fall in scriptures if they do it that way.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That is so good, man, and that's so hard. Self-love, self-compassion, self-forgiveness are some of the hardest things to do. Guess why?
And this is what I found last week. You know what and this is my coach told me this. You know what the remedy for shame is? What? And that's what I was dealt with is compassion, which is like opposite than you want to feel when you're shamed. You know, when there's shame about what you've done, what your past is. Compassion is one of those things like it doesn't even seem right. You know what I mean? But that is like that dissipates shame is compassion, and I never knew that, and I actually found that out last week, and it's transformed my life.
Oh my gosh,
that makes a difference.
Yes. I think shame is hard to overcome because we live with ourselves 24/7.
Yes.
And there's always that voice reminding us, but you did, but you should have, but you didn't, you know. And that is so good. And I'm going to just be very real. This, for me, And I know I'm not alone. I know that those who are listening are feeling the same thing. Some of the people who are listening needed to hear what you just said. And this has been a healing conversation, even for myself, because again, there are things that, and I believe, Robert, just having known you for many years now, is that you're called to, I mean, people have told you this, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I know I'm right. People have said to you things like, God, you're so charismatic, you're so inspirational, you're so powerful, right? People say those types of things about you all the time. People say that to me, and I really got frustrated with it because I wasn't seeing, that wasn't translating to my bank account. I was just like, okay, inspiration ain't helping me right now. I need to be impactful.
Right,
But this is
right.
what I found that it's like kind of like the name of your business. It's like God calls us in those areas way before we're able to see the manifestation of it.
Right.
And so it's like, I believe that you have been called to such a platform and such a call that you probably don't even see the fullness of it yet. So this transformative road that you're on is so necessary, not only for you and your children, and not even Charlie, right? It's so transformative. It's so important for all of those people, but for the millions that you've yet to meet who are looking to hear what you have to say, the business owners, the African American males, all of the people that you're called to serve are waiting on this transformation. There's a scripture that says, and I know this is networking school, but I just got to be who I am right now. There's a scripture that says that the earth moans and groans waiting for the revelation, right, for the sons of men to be revealed. So it's like people have been like, okay, Robert, I'm gonna need you to come on. I need you to become who you're supposed to be, who God called you to be. And until you're revealed, they can't get their transformation. So it's like this right now is like this moment. There are people who've been waiting for this moment. And I know it's the same thing for me. That's why I can say it.
You're repeating exactly what I was talking about last week with my coach, and this was the same conversation. It's like, and that's one of the things that really, I put things around me to ensure that I don't fall off long. Okay, so like that I'm held to kind of like I have a weekly, this is our 16th week, but I have a weekly call that I have with African American males called The Power of Thinking Greater Than Yourself. And so it's just a weekly call that I just support them. So I'm literally held accountable to keep this, because I really feel in this day and time, lights shine brighter now. And people are looking more for clarity. They're looking more for grasping onto something that is solid, that they can look at like somebody's being a leader. So really, I look at this as my responsibility, and I've always hesitated to say that. Like, that's big for me to even admit that, because it holds me accountable. I don't want to be like, well, that means like, if I fall, then this means this, but really I know that it's my responsibility to be this light for my family, for the collective, for African-American males, for whoever out there is just looking for some type of tidbit to know that there is a path that you can take, and that there is, no matter what's going on in our world right now, there's still a path to take where there's peace, tranquility, and then there's abundance, and that's still there no matter what's going on in the outside world.
Oh my God. So part 2 for sure, because we're already out of time.
Yes.
And I would say, because one of the questions, which by the way, y'all already know, if you listen to Networking School, we have omitted all the questions, but that's okay, because this was more important, I think, this time. But one of the questions I often ask is, what's your networking secret? And I think I hear you saying it's literally getting through all of that, those things that are holding you back, so that you can truly be. If I didn't sum it up the way you would say it, say for us, what would you say your networking secret, your secret to be fully seen, fully heard, easily remembered? What would you say that is?
Oh, well, my secret for me was removing all obstacles that stopped me from being connected to really, no, hold on, let me think. This is going to be written down. So I think this secret was the willingness to do whatever it took to get out of survival mode. I mean, I had the willingness to deal with issues that I would never deal with, to get on the other side of survival mode, so that way I can create a clear vision of what I want my life to look like. And before, I wanted to create a clear vision, but I wasn't willing to do whatever it was. And even though these issues have been difficult, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't do it any other way now. Like, I'd rather be crying on a Thursday afternoon for no reason, dealing with stuff, rather than moving through my life just in a cycle. You know, I'd rather be dealing with those things, because on the other side is just the example. I get to hang out with you. I get to talk to people, and that's really what I'm doing. I'm sharing authentically, and that's really honestly all I want to do. I just want to do that.
First of all, thank you for pausing and giving us what was really in your heart, because it's so easy for us to have a quick answer because it's what we do.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you taking a moment, because once again, someone needed to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So just for the sake of people who are like, well, what does he do for business? Before we've kind of took a left turn and never came back to the road here. Tell us a little bit about your business and how people can get in touch with you.
So one is, if you're local in Arizona, I own a synthetic grass installation company.
I saw that. I'm like, what?
Yeah. That's for a couple of years. We do custom backyards, pavers, and green. I have a great team there because I'm a system and process guy. And then I own a marketing agency where we manage social media channels for businesses and email marketing, as well as amazing graphic design. And then I have like 6 clients that I do vision consulting for. And what I do is I sit down, we have a phase 1 and phase 2 that we sit down there, and I have a process that I go through that I use for myself to really get them clear on their vision. And really, it's not, to me, it's not even something that is even difficult. I feel like anyone who wants to sit down, any company sit down, if they're open, they're going to get their vision, right? It's just a matter if you're open. So what I do now is just like for small business owners, like it literally, I know for $600, 4 conversations, you will be clear on your vision, and you will know exactly which direction to go. You'll have an overall plan for what you want to do. Then all of your conversations from there on are easier. Now, you're going to have to answer tough questions to get clear on your vision. But guess what? If you're willing to do that, you're going to do that. And this is worth its weight in gold. So that's really what, if you look on my Instagram, it's Vision Consulting, because that is really where my heart's at. So Vision Consulting, and then if they need anything else, I help them, and I have a great, just a great, awesome team that's really connected to what we're committed to. So, but that's how to use me. So do I give information? Robert at robertreed2nd.com, robertreed2nd.com. You can call me 480-528-2323, and Robert at robertreed2nd.com.
Very good. All of that will be posted on our show notes along with your formal bio.
Okay.
So people can see some of those past things that you have accomplished. Robert, pleasure is not even the right word, but I have so enjoyed our time together, and we will absolutely schedule part 2, because I love to hear more about not only where you are right now, but as you continue to transform.
Oh, I got some good stuff for you too. Yes, we definitely got to get together again.
And we got to get our calls scheduled so we can get together for sure. So thank you so much, Robert.